So just go ahead and tell me, I guess, how things have changed at the art museum since March, the beginning of March.
Well, we have definitely had to shift a lot of attention to digital platforms, which has definitely put my job front and center. So, for those of you who may not know, I am the marketing coordinator for the Arlington Museum of Art. And so, within my job title, I run all of our social media. So, all of a sudden, all of our sort of public facing content was going through me, which was definitely a new experience. So it has been interesting to try and come up with a lot of creative problem solving to still interact with our community and make sure that we're still fostering an environment of artistic education, but through whatever means that we have available to us now.
Mhm. And I think, can you kind of touch more on how the mission has, I guess, somewhat evolved? Just because I think a lot of times people think of the main, focus of a museum is going to see professional art, but like you said, you guys actually cure, art growth in the community and things. So how does that kind of shifted when the what people think of as being a museum is actually closed, but then how does that mission continue then?
Definitely. So a big pillar of our mission statement, and one that I go back to again and again, and really everything I create for the museum, is fostering an environment of education within the Arlington community. And so the Arlington Museum of Art is a little bit different than your average museum, even when things are normal, because we're a non-collecting museum. So because we don't have a permanent collection that can be up year round, we'll go through dark phases. So when the museum is dark, we don't have an exhibition. Unfortunately, when we shut down, we were in the first few weeks of our Youth Art Month, which is a partnership we have with AISD. They've done it for 30 plus years in the meantime, and it allows us to feature the works of children grades 1 through 12 from every single school in AISD. But after that exhibit, we had planned on being dark. So it has been interesting because we aren't able to communicate with our community within our own facility, but it's been more a process of trying to figure out how we can still honor our mission and carry out our mission through digital platforms. So one of the things that I started doing immediately when the stay-at-home order went into effect was to create educational content specifically geared towards children. And that was to try and supplement some of the educational growth that would have been specifically for children during Youth Art Month. And my approach to that was to try and still come up with something that the kids could do to be creative at home with their parents.
And what has the response been like from the community?
It's been really lovely. I've had several parents reach out and thank us for the content. There was one in particular that was really touching to me. It was a mother with a daughter who has Down syndrome, and she was sending me all these pictures of her and her little girl drawing together. And I think the thing that makes me happiest is seeing parents and kids doing an activity together. One of the things that my coworkers and I talk about a lot is that in a strange way, I think a lot of kids are suddenly receiving far more artistic education during this time of homeschooling than they may have in a normal school year, just, out of necessity. That's something that parents and children can bond over. So, artistic therapy is definitely a real thing. So we're hoping that through the creative process, people are finding some comfort during this time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know you guys have a big exhibit coming up, and the date kind of is TBD, a little bit floating on that. But kind of talk about, I guess, a little bit too. Let's give people a broad idea if they haven't been to the museum when times are normal, how you guys kind of rotate through collections, and each visit could be different.
Definitely. So one of the perks of being a non-collecting museum is that we get to bring in a huge array of different artists. So within a single calendar year, last year, we had a traditional Japanese woodblock maker. We had one of the most famous woodblock print artists in all history. He was from the 1600s. His name was Albert Dürer. So we had German, Japanese. We had a huge exhibition on homecoming moms. So, just every time you come to a different exhibition, you're really going to get a completely different experience, which is one of the things that I love the most about our museum. I think really the only thing that will never change is that it's art. It's always going to be some kind of art. The exhibition we have coming up next will be an exclusive collaboration with an artist named Knox Martin. I don't think a lot of people in Texas are too familiar with his work, but he's a huge deal in New York. His work is held in so many of the most famous museums of the world, MoMA, the Met. He is a really incredible man, not only because his work is just groundbreaking, but he is, I believe, 98 in the meantime, and he's not only still living, but he's still working in New York. He was originally able to go to a very famous artistic academy in New York through the GI Bill. He served in World War II. And through that artistic education, he got involved with the Egan Gallery, which, if you're not familiar, I highly encourage you to look it up. It was a really incredible gallery in New York. And through that gallery, he was able to meet a lot of other really incredible artists. He's been a mentor to many artists that you most likely do know the names of. And through a personal connection that we had with the museum, we were able to find a friend of his that sort of gave us the introduction. So we actually get this incredible opportunity to work hand in hand with him and the gallery that represents him, Hollis Taggart, to curate a show, sort of a retrospective of sorts. And then we'll also be debuting an entire collection that he has never shown before. So we're really excited. This is an incredibly exclusive exhibition, and we feel very lucky to have been chosen.
Yeah, that's amazing. Hopefully, that time frame is it. Do you guys feel pretty good about this summer? I guess it is up in the air still, right?
It is a bit. We have been discussing our next annual sort of calendar really nonstop since all of this has happened, and I feel like we have a slightly different calendar every 2 weeks because things keep changing. Tentatively, we're hoping to open this exhibit in mid-July.
And I guess one thing too, I know the museum obviously operates with a lot of help from the community. What do you guys need right
I mean, more than anything, I think the thing that's really heartwarming to us right now is community support. We love seeing people interacting with us over social, just showing us you're still here too. Although people obviously can't come to the museum, now is an awesome time to get a membership. We do have a deal going where the membership you get now, your year doesn't start when you buy it, your year starts when we reopen. So the value of that membership will still stay. If you have the funds to be able to donate, that's always incredibly helpful. We did just have a thankfully very successful campaign with North Texas Giving Day. We were incredibly overwhelmed by the generosity of the community. That was just amazing to see how everyone came together to support us. But we really just love seeing interaction with our community over social. That's really sort of the last frontier where we can still interact with our community.
Nice. And then I guess this is kind of an overarching question that we're kind of weaving in like as a theme for everyone. But, on the other end of this, and people kind of being in their homes as they have been, and, funding for certain things, as we enter economic crisis, we look at, the possibility of a world with less art on the other side of this. And just what do you think that art adds to the world, and especially what can we find in it in times of uncertainty?
That's such a wonderful question. That's something I've really been talking about nonstop with friends, family, my artistic community. Um, I think it means something a little bit different to everyone. For some, it almost holds a religious significance of, they see God in the face of art. But I think for most, it's just an element of comfort. Art really gives you such a tie to humanity in a way that really no other platform that I know of does. Um, you can just express anything you're feeling so clearly through art. And it gives us such a clear tie to history as well. One of the things that I've been doing a lot recently is looking at the art that was emerging after the Black Plague. And one of the things I've been speaking about a lot with other um, people in academia, especially in artistic education, is talking about how previous epidemics have impacted the artistic community. And generally, you see a complete resurgence in the interest of art afterwards. I mean, you look at a time like the Renaissance, which happened right after the Black Plague, and it's this total resurgence in an interest of the humanities. And it's something that's giving us comfort. It's something that's tying us back to our humanity and what connects us all. So we've been making a lot of predictions about what we think the artistic field will look like after this, because all of a sudden artists have nothing to do but to stay in their studios and stay at home making art. So I'm very curious to see how artists process this entire situation through their work.
And I think that's such an interesting point you just made, that obviously everyone is home and things, but more than a localized, this is a global event. You know, and it could, you get, you understand, like you said, it gives you perspective on why there was a renaissance in the art world, and that how many things truly unite us globally, for better or worse. This is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's another thing that makes art so powerful. You don't need a single language. It transcends culture, age, nationality. I mean, it really is sort of a great unifier. And for as terrible and ugly as this epidemic has been, in a sense, it is also a unifier. So I am incredibly curious to see what kind of art we see coming from the artists of today after all of this. And I'm very curious as well to see how museums move forward, implementing maybe more social distancing, how we may be implementing new curatorial techniques to ensure the safety of everyone, but also to see what kind of exhibits we're curating and how we'll be processing the situation we've all been through artistic exhibitions.
Yeah, I'm excited, and hopefully we'll be seeing at the Arlington Museum of Art.
Definitely.